Welcome to the Power Factor Show. Episode 156.
Sponsored by Taylor Freelance, Rainier Ballistics, Hodgson Powders, and JPL Precision.
Welcome to Power Factor and Merry Christmas, fans. Here we are at the end of our third year, and as has been the 2-year tradition, we just thought we'd kind of wrap up the season, talk about what we covered in 2013 and what we kind of hope to do in 2014.
Right.
Say something.
So yeah, welcome to the show. I'm Larry, and I think the biggest, one of the biggest news as of late is that we have a new host. Doug wasn't sitting here last year. This is Doug Hartley, and if you haven't seen Doug's episodes yet, if you're interested in 3-gun, Doug's your guy. So Doug.
It's really fun to be on board. It's different for me. It's
Cool.
something I haven't done before, and so you know.
And we've been getting requests for 3-gun stuff since day one. I mean, I think as soon as we started in on pistol competition, we started getting requests for, hey, do 3-gun. And I used to shoot some 3-gun, but haven't done it for years and hadn't really thought, oh yeah, I'm going to get back into it for the sake of the show.
Right.
But you know, it was nice. I think each time we've had a new host on the show, it's brought a different perspective. You know, Caleb, because of his media connections and whatnot.
Right.
And then now we've got the 3-gun deal. So I think it really, along with Steve's conversion from pistol shooter to shotgun shooter, I think we are covering a lot more bases, and we've got, I assume, a bigger fan base. I mean, I just think people that have come to the show, I know that we start getting questions about how to clean shotguns and stuff, and so there's clearly people that are focused on things other than pistol shooting that are watching the show now. So we want to welcome our new fan base, maybe that's only come on in the last year, because we were really very IDPA and USPSA centric for the first couple of years.
For sure.
And now we've expanded quite a bit. And I think, you know, the broader fan base, I mean, I would like to think that maybe some shotgunners are going to start shooting IPSC or something. So, you know, that's kind of the whole idea of the show. I mean, the focus when we hashed this out, Steve and Loke and I, 3 years ago, the whole thing was a show for new shooters, either people who aren't shooting yet to kind of pique their interest and give them the information to get started, or people who are new to the game that were looking for some tips on how to improve their shooting. And I think it's just been kind of a natural progression, it seems like, as the show's evolved and we broadened our topics. We brought on new hosts that kind of further broadened the topics. And I think it's just worked out really well.
Yeah, and as we got more and more requests for 3-gun, every time we'd get a request on email, Doug kept popping into my mind, and we got a guy locally that, I mean, he's a match director, he knows his stuff, and I started kind of vetting my idea with some friends of mine that shoot 3-gun and say, of all the guys in our area, who comes to mind who's the first guy that comes to mind as the 3-gun expert? And everybody said Doug. So all right, so we got to approach Doug. So I'm glad we did, and glad you agreed to come on for what's a little bit below minimum wage, I think, right?
Yeah, it's zero is pretty low. Yeah, a little bit below minimum wage.
Yeah.
It's been fun for you so far. It's different. Like I said, it's something that I don't normally do. I mean, I do get up in front of people and talk,
Of course,
because I teach high school. But
Right.
it's just totally different to do this. You know, it's been a lot of fun so far for me. So.
You got an audience out there, but we can't see them.
Yeah.
Right, it's even better than high school.
Yeah, right.
Hey, stop chewing your gum over there.
Exactly. If I didn't have to see my students, I'd probably be much happier.
Well, I think it's funny when you talk to people who do not like speaking in front of a crowd. You know, and there's all these techniques for look right over the heads of everybody, because then they think you're looking at the person that's sitting right behind them and stuff like that. But I go on, so we can talk to. I'm sure tens of thousands of people are hearing me now.
Of course.
And yet I don't have to actually look in the eye, just the one camera. You know, I don't have that kind of evaluation apprehension that you get when you talk in front of an actual live audience. And we are, I think, going to start with canned laughter and stuff for the 2014 season. I think we want that live studio.
Some sitcom style.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yes, the gales of laughter.
People start just looking at me back laughing.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's one of the things we have planned for 2015 is like the laugh track in the background. So hopefully that'll work out well and everybody will enjoy that.
Right. So Maybe we'll start with Doug. How was your shooting season? We'll talk about the past 2013. How did 2013 treat you?
Not bad. I did okay. Obviously, I'm getting older, so I'm slowing down a little bit. I'm going to be 58 here, early next year, and so I'm
Still winning, almost winning your division, right?
I'm doing okay, but I can tell I'm not as fast. I can tell that I'm, I'm trying to stay in shape. I run 4 days a week, so I try to do a mile and a half 4 days a week on the treadmill.
I should think about that myself.
It helps, but it just you can just tell you're not as sharp.
Yeah.
And plus I think I've learned a lot of stuff. So I'm ahead of myself in terms of mentally. I'm ahead of myself where I was, like, say, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But physically, you can start to feel it taking its toll.
Yeah. Well, I think you see that any athletic endeavors. I mean, I was reading something about how like professional athletes generally reach their peak at age 27, which is 5 years, say, into their pro career, but then they continue to perform at that same high level for about another 5 years, because as their physical skills start to decline, their experience level starts to make up for it. So they maybe their game evolves a little bit differently, but they've got that kind of 5 to 8 year window where they can perform at a high level. And I know I didn't start shooting in competition until I was almost 40, and so I was way past the peak of my physical skills. But I know when I was 46, I was a better shooter than when I was 36.
Right.
And it was just a matter of, after shooting, every weekend for 10 years, my eyesight isn't as good as it was, and I'm not in as good a physical shape as I was. But I was a smarter shooter, and you can increase your shooting skill apart from your physical agility and whatnot, and still perform at a high level. I mean, you look at the top shooters. I mean, Rob Latham's been probably the top shooter for 30 years now.
Right.
Yep.
And so obviously, just your physical age isn't necessarily going to hold you back. But I think, like I personally, I used to do the treadmill thing 3 or 4 days a week, and I know that I'm not in as good a shape as I used to be. I don't move around as well. I'm not as quick on my feet and whatnot. And it started to take its toll. I mean, like, I was watching the video of the charity match, and I thought, I'm probably shooting at about a C level now. I mean, it's just, that's the difference between shooting every week and shooting every month. You just your skills just kind of fall off, and I think it's inevitable. I'm not driven to keep trying to become a better shooter like I was 6 or 8 years ago, and I just accept that. That's just the way it is. I get older, I try to enjoy it for its own reasons. If I don't win, I can still hang out with my buddies and whatnot.
Right.
And I just find enjoyment in other things than I used to when I felt a lot more competitive, and was getting up every morning or on the weekends to go shoot. And now I sometimes just kind of go, I'm not going to get up this morning. I'm going to sleep in and have another pot of coffee. And
The teens outside.
19? I'm going to sleep in.
Man. I mean, I don't know. Like, I went shopping yesterday, and I didn't even want to walk from the car to the store. I mean, I would open the car door to get out. I'm like going, it is just cold.
It's unusually cold
to be outside, and I prefer the cold to
although it's dry.
wet.
Although it is dry,
cold
so
and dry.
We can't really complain about that. So and sunny too. So
I mean, it's been beautiful the last
hard
few
to
days.
complain.
Yeah, but the normal winter weather here is cold and rainy. Not in the 20s, but I complain about not shooting in the rain, and now this winter I can complain about not shooting when it's 22 degrees out. So
it's dry out, boy.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I was out all day today. We were over to a friend's house putting up some Christmas lights, and I just thought, in the sun, when the sun is out, you're standing in the sun, even if the thermometer says it's in the 20s, it's still pretty nice out. It's still pretty comfortable, so I'm not going to complain about that, as long as I'm not out shooting in it for 8 hours. So, yeah.
And so, how was the Northwest Multi-Gun match this summer?
Our match was good. It's one of those things that you learn something every year. So it's the third year we've put it on.
Yeah.
We did a lot better match logistically, I think, this year. Scott Hawkins did a really good job in laying out the stages so they're pretty even. So, and they were fairly complicated, but because they were even, we didn't have any backups.
Any backup, yeah, that's important.
And then shooting the half-day format really helped out a lot. So you shoot 3 stages and then you go home. And because it could get up towards 100 degrees out there. So, I mean, nobody really wants to be out there for 12 hours in 100-degree heat. Whereas, and it wasn't that hot. It was probably in the 80s, which isn't too bad, but it's still, for some people, still pretty warm.
Sure. Yeah.
And the half-day format was very, very popular. A lot of people really liked it, so we're going to do that again for next year.
And I heard a lot of now I don't shoot 3-gun, but I heard a lot of my friends just excited that every single stage was all 3 guns. Is that right?
Right.
So, Yeah, that's cool.
Which is unusual. There aren't too many places that do that anymore because it's a nightmare in terms of it just slows every stage down. But if you do it,
balance it.
Right, it did help balance it.
Yeah.
Right. And we didn't have any stages where you just shot it. It took like 30 seconds to shoot the stage, and then the next stage is 4 or 5 minutes, and then everything's jammed up. So
cool.
It ran well. Hopefully for next year, we'll have another stellar performance. We'll see what happens. You never know. So every year is different, but we're doing it in the same location out in Bend, Oregon, so it should be a little easier. We picked up a container to keep our steel in out there. So
that's good.
We don't have to haul. We were basically hauling all the steel.
Oh, from here out to Bend?
Yeah, between the steel that Scotty has and the steel from R&R, we would basically take everything out there, all the walls, all the steel, all the barrels. I mean, it was logistically it was a nightmare. Now we have a full container of targets and walls and barrels, and so it'll help a lot. We'll still bring stuff down there, but now we can concentrate more on maybe some different props, getting some new stuff, and doing some different things. Last year, it's just to get everything to a match is a huge endeavor.
Yeah,
but looking forward to it.
Cool. Rick.
Highlight
of the year, the
state championship match.
Championship.
Yeah, I mean we had our this year was the. What was it, the 12th consecutive year that there's been a Washington State Championship, and 11 of the last 12 have been hosted at our club in Renton. And every year, I think, it's you want it to be successful, but you always want to try to learn from something that didn't go well the year before. You want to make it smoother and easier. And I think this year's match, even though I don't think the stages were quite as... I don't want to say not as challenging, but not as elaborate. It was a little bit simpler match, I think, in a lot of ways than some of the matches we've had in the past. But we had so much help from so many clubs in the area. I mean, that's one of the things for the first 5 or 6, 7 years that we had the match at Renton. We were the only club in the state, really, IDPA club in the state. And now there's half a dozen clubs right here in the Seattle area. So we've got people who are extremely gung-ho. I mean, we had one of the local clubs designed and built, I think, 3 of the stages. They built props. I don't know that they built them specifically for our match, but I'd never seen them before. I'm assuming they're still using them, but just some cool props that are activators. You lift a weight off of something and it starts something. It'll activate a swing or a drop turner. And we had a stage with a gravity runner that broke through these saloon doors.
Oh yeah,
it charged the shooter.
That was cool.
Just stuff like that. It was just really good. I always emphasize dressing up the stages. So the stage that's supposed to be, there's supposed to be a garage. Well, the walls had hoses and rakes and stuff hanging on them, so it looked like the inside of a garage. And we had another stage that was supposed to be inside of a tent, and we had the gun started in a cooler, and just, you could have put it in a drawer, but you don't have a drawer in a tent when you're camping. You have a cooler, right? So it's just stuff like that, kind of to keep the theme and just kind of flesh it out with some stuff that has nothing to do with the shooting challenge, but I think really kind of ramps up
raise up the production value.
Yeah, the production value.
Yeah.
We're really big on that, and I think it turned out really well just because each person kind of had their own ideas about how to dress their stages up and integrate these props and things that fit with the theme. We had another one that was supposed to be like a jewelry store heist, and so you've got the briefcase that's supposed to have the jewels in it. It's just kind of simple stuff like that, but I think it's better than here, hold this, we've got a rock and a bowling ball bag to represent, I mean, it's just, I just think people did a really imaginative job of that. And the match turned out really well, not only in the sense that it ran to schedule, but we had I want to say kind of a national level of competition. Blade Tech sent essentially a team of their shooters. I don't think any of them are local. I mean, I think they're mostly guys from California. So. And Safariland, it sounded like they were going to send some guys, or they're going to send some guys next year, so I'm hoping it'll turn into a match, kind of a destination match where we have good local shooters, but I mean getting shooters who are national championship level shooters to come up to Seattle to shoot a match. This is the first year we've had half a dozen of those guys at our match, so that was really cool, really gratifying. The sponsors came through big time like they always do, and so as far as my shooting season is concerned, that state championship match coming off the way it did, I'd have to say was definitely the highlight.
Cool.
And you?
Well, nothing groundbreaking for me. I didn't host any matches, or I wasn't match director for any kind of championship level match or anything. But this was my first year of IDPA, so I got a little taste of that. still only shot 4 matches, and I might not continue with it.
You don't like those flat-footed reloads?
There's that. I like, there's rules that I've always kind of, I don't know, it's just do I want to devote time to learning a new game?
Sure.
And then I started learning the new game, and they changed it on me with the new rule book in October 1. And there's a lot of rule changes that make sense. I mean, they align themselves with USPSA in a way that now there is a 180 rule, right?
Sure.
If I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong on these
No,
things.
that's true.
If you drop your gun, you're DQ'd now. Hey, what a concept.
Yeah, range commands have become more common.
Right.
Initially, there seemed to be this idea that if USPSA does it this way, we're going to do it this different way.
Right.
And I think they've kind of given up on that, and now there's much more, much closer
and doing that
rules.
probably helps people transition back and forth, and so they can play both games. I've recently, I mean, one of the things that really I liked a lot about it was I could grab my carry gun or an analog to my carry gun and shoot a match with something that I wouldn't normally grab for a USPSA match. And that was fun to do something different, to shoot what, for me, I mean, was a stock trigger and, 10-round mags and whatever else. But I've found since then that I could shoot a little production and kind of get the same kind of fun, kind of excitement.
Yeah, I think to a certain extent, though, if you look at kind of the idea that IDPA is supposed to be this sport that's designed around carry guns, that I think sometimes the people who kind of dabble in it take that aspect of it more seriously than the people who do it seriously.
And I certainly did. I mean, I know for sure I could have pushed the limits of the rules like people do in Production Division USPSA, right? It's a stock gun, but there's 10 pages of rules,
modifications you can make to
what's
it.
allowed, what's not allowed. I mean, it's gone crazy over the years, and I know you can do that in IDPA, but I chose not to. It was just my kind of, hey, let's see what I can do with a carry gun.
Yeah, and that's kind of the same way Steve approached it.
Right.
He shot a pretty much stock Glock, and with his what's legitimate kind of carry gear as opposed to sort of the carry gear that conforms to the rules.
Right. No, I was actually shooting with my carry holster, which I'm wearing now.
Yeah.
And of course, I had mag pouches, which I don't carry mag pouches. I have a phone instead. But I mean, otherwise, I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with it, and I had, I took 4th. Expert at your match, so that's just satisfy myself that okay, I can shoot at least as good as the average bear anyway.
There you go.
So
there you go.
So that was one change for me this year, and then really since we reviewed Ben Stager's book on the show, his Shooting Fundamentals, I forget what the name of the book is, but really ever since reading that book, and he's started a podcast, a little 10-minute podcast, I don't know if you're familiar, just he answers like 2 questions a week or 2 questions per show, and his shows come out, I don't know, every 3 or 4 days. Since reading that book and listening to Ben, it's kind of really lit a fire under me to get off my butt and actually try to get better. Mm-hmm. And so I started this game almost 12 years ago, and since then I just show up and shoot. I just show up and I put my gear on and I go shoot, and the gear goes home and it goes in the safe and it gets locked up, and I'd never really look at it again until the next month or something when the next match comes around. And I've been fairly satisfied with that for quite a while, and it's just kind of, hey, look what I can do without even trying, and sometimes it's a disaster, honestly, but sometimes I can put together a decent match. And so after reading and listening to Ben Stager, I'm trying to not be so inconsistent anymore. So I'm working with actually Steve Anderson's Dry Fire book that came out. I don't know if you're familiar with that one.
Steve's got it loaned to me.
10 years ago. It's dated 03, and it's all these dry fire drills. And since getting the Shopmaster targets, and even before that, I had made my own scale dry fire targets, and been working in my garage with Steve Anderson's book. And I'm looking forward to Ben Stager's dry fire training manual coming out, and then start working with that and actually try to improve. I mean, and I'm doing the most basic stuff with no ego, just like, let me just do what the book says. I'm not, you have to, for me anyway, being a little bit sloppy and being a bit of a hoser, you have to just kind of get back down to basics, get back down to fundamentals, get a sight picture 20 times. Just a sight picture. You know, it seems kind of dumb, but not really. I mean, it's, you know, I think it's going to help. So that's my plan anyway. And then one of the goals I listed a year ago on our anniversary episode was that in 2013 I wanted to get a SIRT pistol for this purpose. And so finally I've managed to get myself a SIRT pistol. So from Next Level Training, actually picked it up used on Brian Enos. So this is the laser training pistol, which is Glock shaped and Glock weighted. And I mean, it's got its own training magazines. And so
now, did they provide any kind of training materials or anything? Do they suggest how to utilize it? Or?
Yeah, there's in the manual, like there's the manual comes on a CD-ROM, and there's some things to do and what not to do, and don't, you know, like for example, don't start you know, take your follow-up shot based on your first shot, because that's bad habit. I mean, you can't do that in real life with the real gun. I mean, you can't just walk your shots in when you're blazing away 4 or 5 shots a second with a pistol, right? So it does warn you about, you know, bad habits and what not to do. I found that if and the lasers are adjustable. There's a trigger prep laser, which is red. The trigger brake is green, and I usually shut off the red laser. But you can adjust each laser independently, up, down, left, right. And I've got it set so that when I've got a proper sight picture, the green laser is just below the front sight. I can kind of see the glow around the front sight.
Oh, okay.
But it's just below the front sight, and so I kind of am not supposed to see the laser. I'm just trying to do the drills and see the sights, and I'll record it, and then I can go back on the recording and see what did I do.
You're recording the target?
I'll record, yeah. Like I'll actually wear my hat cam like that. Okay. That I'll use.
So it's getting a slightly different view than what your eyes see.
Right, and you know, I'm looking for is I don't want to see streaks of laser like this. You know, you want to see a nice dot, nice little pop, and not streaks where you're dragging the shot. Little things like that I'll look for. And so yeah, basically my goals are to actually start trying to do better.
Wow.
So hey, what do you know?
Yeah, that's quite a goal for 2014.
It is. You know, after all this time, I mean, now I never really had a lot of time. You know, my son took a lot of time when you have kids. You know, now he's getting old enough that he doesn't need constant attention all the time. You know, and so
teach him how to do your ammo loading and clean your gun.
Oh gosh, yeah, he does. He likes to resize my brass on the GRX die, my 40 brass on the where it fully pushes through. But he can hang on the lever in some cases that are really bulged and not get pulled down. So
that's a good start.
He's just a tiny bit interested, and I got to say another bonus. You know, guns have been around, and I'm always talking about guns and watching YouTube stuff and whatever about gun stuff. So he's kind of, it's not interesting. It's just kind of normal for him. So when I got the laser gun, now he's like, oh, I want to play with that and see if I can hit the target. So as an added bonus, maybe my son will get interested in shooting. And by the way, he's 9 years old today. Happy birthday, Anthony.
Happy birthday to you. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, that's kind of sum up my year. And I guess the one other thing we talked about was the championship series. We did a whole series review really, and talked about what our championship series is all about. And I don't know if we're going to get all the gory details. Every club hosts one special match. You shoot as many as you want, and they average they take your top 3 or 4, average them together, and it's kind of almost like a tournament.
Right.
And I took third this year in limited. So
nice.
Now this is in the Northwest. You're talking about Area 1,
Northwest section.
There might be some people watching that aren't from Area 1.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we had a show where we talked specifically about what it is and how we do it, and suggested other sections might try that. Right. And so in our section, I might have said area, but our section, 6 clubs, they have this special little tournament thing. So
are they still doing the cash payout thing?
Yes, they are.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
And little trophy, a little plaque. This year it's a little acrylic trophy that's like shaped like an IPSC metric target. So
for next year, some of the things I'd like to see on the show, I'd like to do some technique things for 3-gun. So
Perfect.
a lot of people, there's certain things, certain techniques with rifle and shotgun that I think would be helpful for people to see. So
Yes.
I hope to be able to do some of that next year.
We've barely turned on the spigot for 3-gun.
Right,
There's so
right.
much
Yeah.
untapped content there that we've done with pistols and Steve's done with shotguns. Now, from the 3-gun perspective, more of all the technique stuff. That'll be awesome.
Right, and then of course the matches. I don't know if we will get the cameras out to some of my matches, but this year hopefully I'll be shooting the Multi-Gun Nationals. Probably work it and shoot it like I did the last few years. Of course there'll be our match, the Northwest Multi-Gun Challenge out in Bend. Normally I shoot Rocky Mountain and work Rocky Mountain. So, and last year I even took my wife along.
Nice.
So she worked on the stage, and she even took some nationally known shooters and kicked them off the stage because they were trying to sneak in behind the place a lot. My wife got right out there, and you could hear her all the way down the end. She said, "Hey, back here! You're not supposed to be out there."
Nice.
What
So,
squad
yeah,
are you on? Get out.
Exactly. You on the squad? Get off.
Some
the
of your squad number. Police in
So
your stage.
she hopped right into it. So she did a good job. She ran the paper. She
Nice.
wasn't out running shooters, but she could handle the paper and ramrod in the back end of the stage. So
Cool.
she did a good job.
Cool.
And then probably the last one I'll shoot next year, unless something else comes up, will be the Crimson Trace night match.
Yeah.
So
Where's that?
that's
in
in Bend too.
That's in Bend. Okay.
And so I shot that the last couple of years and worked it the last couple of years, and it's pretty interesting. It's a lot of fun to see.
You shoot
They had
from-
some big name shooters out there.
You shoot from like 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. or something like that.
right, yeah, until you get finished.
Oh man, brutal.
It's pretty interesting.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's
If you want some light, you better bring it.
right. I mean, they did have some lighting out there.
Okay.
Most of it was colored lighting, so they might have some red lights or green lights on the stage. But I mean, there is no white lighting out there. So if you want to have white lights, it's on your gun. That's it.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Right.
really test that aspect of your gear for
Right.
sure.
And it definitely changes things quite a bit when it gets dark.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
So, but it's interesting, and they usually have some night vision stuff there. They had one stage they had thermal, so we were shooting at targets. We were shooting down, maybe 150 yards, and the first stage, I guess the group came out there and they couldn't see the targets, and they had to get some little charcoal, and they took charcoal out there and they actually heated the targets up. And once the targets were heated, you could see them perfect.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, so because it's not like a regular night vision, where it's,
Sure.
it's just illumination, so
Right.
you're seeing whatever's
We're
there.
boosting the
You actually
light,
have
yeah.
to have some heat
thermal,
out there.
yeah.
Right.
Okay.
You're looking for temperature differences, and just sitting out there, the targets are basically the same temperature.
Same temperature
Same
as
as
background.
ambient,
Right?
So yeah, I mean there would
okay.
be a little difference, but you wouldn't really be able to see it. But once you heat them up, they just glow.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
so
cool.
it's pretty fun. And then of course some regular night vision stuff, and they had some the binoculars and binoculars and all kinds of stuff that you could play with out there on some of the stages. Some full auto weapons, just a little bit of this and that. It's
Tons of
a great
fun.
match. They have a lot of interesting.
No,
I
I would say to our
rocket-
viewers, go check it out. But that's an invitational, right?
Yeah, I think it's going to be open though to everybody.
open
So if
registration
you go,
next time?
go on the Crimson Trace website, and I think it's full. I'm not 100% sure. It's getting pretty close. It's not.
Wow.
But
awesome.
it's just definitely interesting. Not for the beginner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, you don't want that to be your first match.
No.
So the other thing, a lot of our viewers probably noticed that we've not necessarily changed the format, but we've added another type of format, and that's been the multi-segment show, if you will. That's what I would call it. Where so many times in the past we've had some ideas and said, I'd like to talk about this, but I couldn't do 30 minutes on it, or 25 minutes, or 45 minutes, or whatever it happens to be. So we've started doing this kind of multi-segment format where, if John Larson and Steve think of something for shotgun that's 10 minutes, boom, they can knock that out, and we can string 3 of those together and make an episode about it. So that's we've gotten some feedback on that. Some people like it, some people don't. We'd like your feedback. Let us know what you think about that. It makes it, it gives us another way to deliver content that we wouldn't otherwise with the old format when we were stuck with this one topic for the whole show. And we want our show. We don't want our show to be 12 minutes and that's it. So that's something that we've added this year. So yeah.
Well, and I think one of the values in it too is that when we spend 40 minutes on a topic, we'll spend sometimes 30 seconds on 10 different little individual things. and I'll say, we mentioned something about, whether it's a technique or something. I just thought, I can't spend 40 minutes on each of those 30-second little bites, but I could spend 10 minutes on them. And so
get more in depth.
Yeah, get more in depth on a little bit of something. I mean, we did an episode recently, or I did a short segment on 8-round 45 magazines. Right. And we had done an episode specifically about 1911s. We did an episode specifically about single stack and custom defensive pistol, which are, of course, single stack 45 divisions. And so we had mentioned magazines a bunch of times. But I just thought, it's one of those things where, let's say, if you ever go to the 1911 forum, there's a thread, I swear, that starts every week. I want to buy some 8-round mags. What kind should I get? Okay, so the first guy responds Wilson, second guy responds Tripp, third guy responds Chip McCormick, right. And I'm like going, so clearly if a new shooter wants to get geared up and they are maybe going to spend $200 on magazines, probably having a little 10-minute segment, 10-15-minute segment on 8-round magazines isn't a bad idea. And I think there's all kinds of little things like that. Like even there's an article, a couple of articles. I'm going to do an episode about this or a segment about it. Dwayne Thomas, I'll call him our own Dwayne Thomas because he's a local guy, has been writing articles about IDPA for the Dillon Blue Press. Right. And he wrote an article about the TAC reload. And he invoked the name of Chuck Taylor, who apparently is credited with inventing the tactical reload. And so he had like a response to Dwayne's article. And it was just kind of interesting that Dwayne's, I think his take on it, although it was defensive in nature, it revolved around, I think, a lot of techniques that have evolved from IDPA competition. Whereas Chuck Taylor's sole focus is military, law enforcement, self-defense, and so he kind of took Dwayne to task for some of this kind of competition-oriented stuff that he'd infused into this military law enforcement technique, and you have it all wrong and stuff. And I thought there was interesting elements to both articles, and I don't think either one of them you can discard either one of them. So I just thought I could talk 10 minutes certainly about like my IDPA kind of oriented take on that debate, if you will, between these two guys that are coming at this story. I don't think I could spend 40 minutes on it, but I could certainly spend 10 minutes on it. Right. And I think there's all kinds of topics that you can make mention of it, go into a little bit of detail on it, but you can't do 40 minutes on it. And I think when we've got a series of short topics like that, stick them together. Not every episode is going to be short topics like that. Sure. I still got 2 or 3 IDPA rulebook episodes that I think are going to go at least 40 minutes. So, but yeah, just if you have ideas, we've often said you have any ideas for topics, and we've always thought of it, I think, traditionally in the context of something that we can spend 40 minutes on. But even if it's something like, what kind of a screwdriver should I use to adjust my sight? I bet I could spend 10 minutes on that. So, yeah, give us ideas. If there's anything you have a little question about, how to do anything, whether it's a technique, maintenance, gunsmithing, how to drive your car to the range, just give us a question. What kind of car to drive?
My opinion.
Yeah, what kind of gas mileage should you get? Tires that are all-weather tires, because it's been cold out. I wouldn't get those speed-rated summer tires if you're shooting matches in Minnesota. Well, it was all the football games were played in the snow today. We were watching 3 games when we went out to breakfast, and they're snowing all over the country. So,
it didn't snow for the Seahawks. It might have helped.
Yeah, exactly. If if you just have little questions about anything.
Right. Yeah. So in general, we're encouraging more interaction from the viewers. We get people that say thanks for the show, or hey, nice show, or whatever, and that's nice. We like that too. But more interaction would be great. More suggestions of topics. If you got something that you've wondered about yourself on how do I do this, or if you're needing some instruction on a certain technique, or if you've got a gun problem, hopefully it's you're not going to wait on us to solve your gun problem. Let's hope you got a backup gun while we address your problems there. But just anything, and just in general, we'd like a little bit more interaction. And like we said, topic suggestions. We'll decide if it's worthy of a 10-minute segment or a 40-minute segment or whatever.
Or if we just know nothing about it, we'll ignore it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, before we wrap up here, we've got another prize giveaway, and this one was donated by our friends at Northwest Safe. David Balistrossi down there gave us a really nice gun vault, which is a 4-pistol size gun vault, not a little cheap pistol box by any means. This is about a $150 retail item. And we've been struggling for a little while to figure out what's the appropriate way to give this thing away. So here's what we've decided. We would like for you guys to like this post where we post this on Facebook. When we post this episode on Facebook, this is going to be 156, or 52 weeks a year, 156, 3 years. We would like for you to like the post and share it on your page. And in the spirit of getting the word out and getting our viewership numbers up, that'd be nice. And I think that's how we're going to give away this safe. So,
everybody who shares.
So for everybody that shares the posting of this episode on Facebook, we've got a list of names that do that, and we can randomly select a winner. And again, this is not a baseball cap or USPSA mug. This is a $150 gun vault donated by Northwest Safe. So thanks to those guys for that big ticket item there.
Cool. Well, and thanks to all of our sponsors, all of the people who've come on the show. We had a ton of guests over the course of the year, other shooters,
right,
people, designers and builders of cool stuff. And we just want to thank them all. Take this opportunity at the end of the year to just thank everybody who appeared on the show in 2013, and our sponsors that are, of great value to us and great value to you, because of course we don't just take any sponsorship. It's not like we're sponsored by low-calorie sodas or beers or anything. I mean, we're sponsored by primo manufacturers and skilled people and dedicated to the shooters, and so that's the kind of people we want to have associated with the show.
Exactly.
Thanks for this year, and if you need to send us any questions or comments, you can send it to powerfactorshow@gmail.com.
And of course the website, powerfactorshow.com.
And like us on Facebook, facebook.com/powerfactorshow. And a toast to another good year at Power Factor. Thanks
you, everyone. To all of you.
Thanks to all the viewers.
And we'll see you next year.
It's been fun.
Been real. It's been nice.
So we would like for you to. Can I start this whole segment over?
You're just rambling.
They're going, Jesus.
I have no idea what you're talking
Take
about.
your time.
I've never seen the safe. I don't know
I'm
what
not
you're
out of
talking
beer
about.
yet, so just keep talking.
Okay.
God damn. I'm like,